Hello YouTube, hi, my name is Mark. This is Nixon Motorsports. Hey, this channel is all about motorsports, from racing to exotic cars and even simulators. Today's video, we will be replacing the steering rack in the Formula 1000 race car. So let's get into the video. I'll explain why and what we're doing. I think you might find it of interest. Come on. So I mentioned steering rack, and let me show you what I'm putting in the car. Let me just pan down here. So this is the steering rack. See how I can turn this here and the shaft moves. Now these boots go on the end, of course, to protect all that. There's several brands of steering racks out there. This is the Woodward steering rack itself, and this is actually the same steering rack that's in the car. It's a 2.25, I believe it is, ratio, 2.25 to 1 ratio. That basically means that means how aggressively you are turning the steering wheel to the relationship of the tires actually turning, right? So a different ratio will either create a faster turn versus a slower turn excuse me, based on driver input, okay? So you could ask, well, why did I leave the ratio the same? I did simply because I'm accustomed to it. I don't really see any issues with or advantage of changing that ratio. So what am I doing and why am I putting this in the car? The one that's in the car is actually okay. I have a lot of play in the entire steering system, right? So from the steering wheel through the shaft into the rack, ultimately to the tires themselves. My steering wheel actually currently has slop in it. I want to remove that. I want it to be nice and firm and tight. Probably obvious, but let me state it for you. So direct feedback from your vehicle through your steering wheel is one of the leading, I would say, feedback for a driver, and you need your steering feedback to be as good as you can. So any little movement of grip change, of just the vehicle balance and feel will translate and come through your steering assembly. So for me, removing the assembly and rebuilding that, makes a lot of sense. Now, I am upgrading a few things. So if I pan down here, this is the one of the helm joints, I'm calling it, that I'm going to be using. There's a handful of products out there. These are nice. They're light and very robust, and basically it allows you to, in your shaft, right, you can have different angles in your shaft to your steering wheel. That's what these are. So I'll be doing that, and putting a new shaft with a new coupler to the steering wheel in place. I'm putting a new spa coupler, and I'll show you that here in a minute while I'm doing this. And the reason I'm doing that, my current steering wheel has the cord, right, that is the physical data lines from your steering wheel into your vehicle electronics. That's just irritating. I've used these spa hubs before, where basically it's not wireless, it's a mechanical connection, but you remove that dangly cord from your steering wheel and you actually have a nice, clean, completely detachable steering wheel assembly. So while I'm doing this upgrade, I'll be doing that. All right, so let's get the current rack out of the car. Let's start laying this thing out and making some of the changes. So come on, let's get to it. All right. Okay, so let me pan down and show you the spa hub that I was telling you about just quickly. So if I look over here, this looks very normal, like any other steering wheel hub, right? It's spring loaded. This is where your steering wheel will be mounted here on this end, and it actually just slides onto the shaft, right? So the difference on this one, if I pan down here, you can see the weldable hub end here, right, the spline shaft, and if you look in there, you see a bunch of pins, right? So this one actually, the pins actually go through the hub assembly itself into the shaft, and on the back side of the shaft, you actually connect your I/O at that point. So it makes your steering wheel completely detachable, which is trick. So while we're doing all this work on the steering assembly, we'll add this, all right? All right, come on. So here is the rack itself, the old rack inside the car. So I need to pull that out and work on getting the next one in, okay? Okay, so I have the rack out. It was kind of a pain. Let me scroll down here so you can see. All right, so here is the interior with no steering rack. So now I need to get this guy mounted and get that in, and then I can worry about the rest of the steering assembly, okay? So let me get that mounted, I'll bring you back. Okay, so I have the steering shaft out itself. Let me pan down here so you can see this thing. So this actually slides in through a bearing assembly. This coupler actually went in there, and I just cut this off, but this was the rest of the shaft, right? And what I'm going to be doing is replacing that old heavy joint with this nice enclosed joint. It saves, believe it or not, just £1 alone just on that. Okay, so a quick update. I have the steering rack in the car. I'll pan down here and just show you what that looks like. I have a few things yet to do. I have to make a new shaft, you know, and that new coupler that I have, and get that mounted. But let me roll in here so you can see what the shaft looks like, or the steering rack itself looks like. So here, as I pan down or point to this, you can see the new rack's in place. This angle here is adjustable. You just loosen up these 4 mounting bolts and the rack actually will swivel. So I'll adjust that once I get this this new shaft here that I'm pointing to. I have to do a little welding and such to get this in here, but gives you an idea. It's getting pretty close. From there I'll just make sure obviously all the clearances are there, do some adjustment. Of course, I have to set the toe and all those things, but anyway, that's it for the moment. Let me get back to work and I'll bring you up to speed once I do a little more, okay? Okay, so hey, I got the steering rack in and built the new shaft and so on. I wasn't able to, at least for this moment, I did not put the new wireless mount that I talked about in the car from the hub, simply because I didn't have the material that I needed, and kind of ran out of time today. So I'll be adding that at a later time. Not a big deal. But let me show you what it's looking like. I think it turned out pretty good. Let me just pan in here as I scroll around. So here you can see the new coupler that I put in, and down through the bottom here you can see the new shaft in place. Now I went ahead and kept the string sensor, the potentiometer, on the shaft this way. The reason being, well, first of all, I thought about putting a linear shaft down at the base of the rack and kind of travel with it. I simply really didn't have any room to get it mounted in there. So for simplicity reasons, I went ahead and just mounted this back here. Now I took a lot of play out of the steering wheel. I mean, this thing hardly moves now. It's just a small little slop right at the adapter, but extremely tight. So I'm looking forward to see what this feels like on the track. It should be a noticeable difference. So anyway, that's it. I'll get out, I'll do a couple laps, I'll do a quick little follow-up as far as, you know, any feel that I have after driving the car with a new rack in there, okay? All right, we have some testing coming up in about a week and a half, so I'll provide feedback at that point. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, like always, I want to thank you for supporting this channel. I want to thank you for telling your friends about this channel. If you haven't subscribed, you know, please consider doing so. We have some testing coming up in about a week and a half. We have a race coming up later in the month of October, a double header. So I hope you stay tuned, and we will talk to you later. Ciao.